For my contract show and tell assignment, I chose to analyze the Netflix brand assets, terms, and conditions. This is the agreement you enter into when you download or use Netflix's logos or brand material. I'm basically just going to scroll through the contract and show where each part of contract law appears. So, starting right at the top of the contract, Netflix makes the offer. They say that if you download or receive any of their brand assets, then you are agreeing to the terms listed here. So Netflix is offering access to their logos and materials, but only under the conditions in this contract. Acceptance happens right in the same paragraph. So Netflix explains that just by downloading the assets, you automatically accept the contract. So there's no signature or button required. The act of downloading or using something with their brand on it counts as accepting the agreement. So if I scroll down here to this section, this is where the consideration appears. Consideration is what each party gives to the other. Netflix gives you a license, basically permission to use their brand assets. It even says the license is limited and revocable. That's Netflix's side of the exchange. On the other side, we as users have to follow all the rules listed underneath, like not modifying the logo, not making it misleading, and not using it in ways that confuse the source. So basically, Netflix gives permission and we give back compliance. That exchange is the consideration. So when I scroll down to the Netflix Materials License Agreement section, there's a sentence saying that by downloading the materials, you represent and warrant that you have the power and authority to enter into the agreement. This is the capacity part, meaning the person entering into the contract has to legally be able to agree. So Netflix is basically saying, if you're downloading this, you better have the right to legally bind yourself or your company. The violation of law subsection, it basically lists a bunch of things that Netflix cannot be associated with. This shows that the contract requires lawful use of the brand assets. So the purpose of the contract is legal, and both parties must comply with the law, which satisfies the legality requirement. In terms of whether this contract is void, valid, or voidable, this contract is definitely valid because it has all the required elements. But it is also voidable mainly by Netflix. There is a line under the Netflix rights section where they say they can modify or terminate your permission at any time. So what that basically means is that they can literally just end the agreement whenever they want, which makes this voidable as well. Termination is basically found in the same spot where they say they can terminate your permission to use their brand assets at any time and take action against any use they think violates the contract or the law. So termination is immediate and fully controlled by Netflix. So I've noticed that there are a few risks when it comes to this contract. Firstly, you can't use Netflix assets in books, merchandise, or broadcast without written permission. Netflix can also deny without any explanation, and you can't claim endorsement or partnership unless clearly permitted. What surprised me was how limited the license is, even though it's public facing. I didn't realize that using their logo, even for something like a school project or mock campaign, could violate their terms if not approved first. Also, the broad disclaimer of liability was unexpected. Even if you follow the rules, Netflix takes no legal responsibility for your use. A few things I learned while doing this is that I didn't realize the moment you download the assets, you're legally bound, even without clicking I agree. I also didn't realize that, the Brandon rules were like heavenly, heavenly strict, especially how many things require written approval. So overall, analyzing this contract made it really clear how even simple digital agreements include all the elements of contract law. Netflix terms are very protective of their brand and give them a lot of control over how it's used. Thank you so much for watching.